Okay, folks, Beyond the Gates, episode 132. Let's jump in because yet again, this week flew by. We only got one episode left. What do I want to score this episode? I don't know. I'm still just kind of taken aback by the fact that yesterday you had sorry, there's like a plane flying over, so if you hear any background noise. But, Anita giving her granddaughters advice. And I think it's safe to say that overall, fans were not pleased for good reason about Cat being the one to go apologize to Tomas when in all actuality, Tomas is simply doing what the majority of the other cast are, or other characters have been doing, completely sidelining Cat's valid feelings of animosity towards Eva, and yet she's depicted as the villain. Now, don't get me wrong, there are plenty of times where I feel like Cat is out of pocket in terms of the way she behaves towards other people, or, she feels beneath her, but when it comes to Eva, those feelings are warranted. So to have her apologize, it's just okay. I'm going to give this one a 7 out of 10. 7 out of 10. Even though I know the Andre and Danny scenes were the highlight of the episode for me. Now, Haley comes home, and while Bill gives them a couple of drinks, which is something I'm like, oh yeah, that's right, because Haley is no longer quote unquote pregnant. She asked how it went, when he went over there to tell Danny about boundaries and stuff. And even though he's, talking about it, he's only vaguely giving details of the conversation and then changes the subject by calling her beautiful, which low key reminds me of Danny's advice. I'll just distract her with something shiny. So he pretty much says, look, I made it clear that our lives are separate aside from the impact and connection we have with our children. And Haley worries that Danny knows he's sent her to give the message, which is pretty obvious, Haley. I mean, those two were pretty friendly on the couch, and then automatically he goes over to the house to lay down the law. Duh. But Bill doesn't care about that. The point is, Danny does get it, and Haley stops herself from asking for more details and just says, well, thank you for, establishing those boundaries. And to put it behind them, she wants to make up sex. He's probably thinking about Danny, though. Now, we go over to the club, and remember, Danny and Andre were drinking to their lost love and newfound freedom, so to speak, with Ashley being engaged to Derek and Bill coming over to tell Danny what was what. So she could tell the words coming from Bill were Phales. I don't know. Drunk Danny is best Danny, except when she's passing out, because that was sad. Now, Andre knows that the kids will always tie, Bill and Danny together, and he never thought of having kids himself. It's basically a situation where neither of them are focusing on the ones who they really want to be with. Like, love the one you're with. I'm sorry. She wasn't that drunk. And they drink again. So they talk about being enamored. So why not go off on a private jet, Come on, Andre. Danny's like, yeah, where are we going? Okay, I'm sorry, no more drunk. See, if you're a long-time viewer of my content, when Tyler Perry's Sisters was like in season 3 or 4, I always mimic Andy when she was drunk. Okay, so they drink some more, and they name the drink the Unholy Mess. Cheers to us. So she wants to call it the Bill. Intoxicating, even though it's bad for me. So she sips it up. Has a mean aftertaste, just like Bill. So she's like, what are you going to call your drink? And you know what? Call it the Ashley. He says it'd be sweet. And then she gags. So he gets back to discussing their impromptu trip. And she thinks they need to make more drinks so they can clink thoroughly. I like that. Good. They just switched around a couple letters from think clearly. So they move to the sofa and are upset when they're cut off because they start getting close and Danny wants sex. And remember, they're at the country club now, so it's not like they are at Danny's place. So they start getting, so they start planning the trip. So they leave stumbling over their feet. So we go over to Uptown where Joey gives Vanessa a stack of cash for a deposit. And she's thrilled and loves the risk, but he's like, it scares you, doesn't it? And her accountant is still on her about these, just unspecified large deposits. And, well, I was able to talk him out of, looking too deep into it, and says that the thrill of this stuff is almost as good as sex. So he mentions where Doug is, and she tells him not to bring it up, and he hopes that Doug won't show up and wonder if he's tracking her somehow. But Vanessa doubts that as Joey flashes back to Doug, walking in on them having sex at the gambling hall. So he's like, why don't you move in with me? No. So the thing is, he's like, oh, okay, you said it so fast, and I thought, we had something good going on. I'm not saying it was, nothing like your marriage, of course, but I thought you would jump at the chance to move in. But Vanessa says that, hey, we have a life and children together, okay? So Joey mentions that what they have keeps them going all day until I see you again. And I thought you felt the same way. But he mentions, like, well, I guess there are two kinds of love. One's where you spoon at night, and the one where you can't scratch that itch. And she's a bit annoyed that he's not paying her sexual attention. She is about to leave, but that's when Joey grabs her arm and he lets her go, and she lets him, live life with Doug where it's comfortable and safe. Because Joey knows how to push Vanessa's buttons at this point. There's no doubt about that. And as he says, we know each other very well. And she kind of passes it off by saying, well, I knew early on that I needed sex more than I needed you. And that's what he likes about her, the fact that she's a go-getter, she knows what she wants. And that's when Vanessa makes it clear that she never was going to, she's never felt like she was going to leave her husband or anything. Basically, I paid for services rendered, and I'd like to go home and sleep with my husband. And can you live with this, Joey? And he just says, well, you know what? I could take anything you dish out, but I checked your account with my escort service, and it's gone inactive, the moment we connected. Because before that, you had a list of prior clients, like a CVS receipt. But then when me and you started getting, freaky diggy, you just went radio silent. And she figures like, well, I guess at the end of the day, I'm really a one-man kind of girl, even though that doesn't really gel with her activity before meeting with Joey, but okay. Now, back at the diner, which again, I'm glad Randy's calling out Doug for this. He's not pleased about meeting in public since he's trying to fly under the radar. And that's when Doug tells him that he's considering going after Joey yet again. And, well, unlike you, Doug, I actually like breathing. So Doug explains that Joey blackmailed his wife into this money laundering, and it's the key to bringing him down. No, you're just mad you saw them having sex. That's when Doug reminds him that it'll take Vanessa down as well. And Doug says, well, I don't want that exactly, but that's when Randy's like, look, if you knew your wife was stepping out on you with some shady dude like Joey, you're pretty much a cuckold. And Doug's like, well, I'm used to her habits, but we have an understanding, but Joey's a different kind of guy. And that's when Randy mentions that, look, I'm not going to help you. And I wish I could talk you out of this situation. I mean, hell, if we go back to the beginning of the series, Randy tried to help Doug before he got involved with Joey in the first place. But look where that got him. So we go over to the hotel where Tomas brings Cat, and he reminds her why they're together after their fight. He removes the blindfold and he set up a romantic dinner. And that's when she looks over at the bed and she rolls her eyes, which is funny. I don't know. There's one thing, Cat knows how to pull off those facial expressions. Now, she appreciates the trouble he went through to put this together, and they kiss. And that's when he opens the champagne, and that's when he mentions how when he first saw her, she took his breath away. And then they start making out, and since they aren't hungry, they decide to just talk for a bit. They discuss Chelsea's, recovery from her ordeal, and Kat shows him a clip about their purse launch on the 29th. And that's when she feels bad that Allison shook up Chelsea's life, and she just wants to find a way to bring her cousin back to normal. And That's when he gives her a fortune cookie. She opens it and it says, just ask. Anything she wants. Anything you want. Just feel free. So she asks to dance. So he takes her by the hand and they dance. But that's when they move to the bed and start having sex. And she's not satisfied. So he asks her to talk about it. And that's when it's like, it's not fun for me if it's not fun for you. And she's sorry that, the fun was ruined. But she thinks it'd be nice if she measured up to the more experienced women he slept with. And that's when she mentions how he thinks it's like, you're just misinterpreting the situation. Well, fine, I could just take my problematic behind home. And he just wants her to be honest. And that's when she thinks you're the problem. It's like, maybe you're not that great in bed. And his face literally falls to the floor. And she looks more upset than ever. So they dress. And that's when she's like, I'm calling for a car. Suit yourself. And then he leaves. Dang. I don't know. That was messed up. Man. That was messed up. Because look, it's the question of, is Cat really the one who's not that good? I mean, how would you know if Tomas is bad if you never had sex before? I feel like that's a fair question. So, Randy actually stops by Bill and Haley's before they can actually have their makeup sex, but Haley goes upstairs and Doug tells Bill about the money situation between Joey and his wife, and he wants Bill to help put Joey behind bars and clear his wife's name. And he's like, that's a tall order even for me. And why all of a sudden do you want it to stop? And that's when Doug doesn't say anything, but Bill just looks at him. Yeah, your wife is sleeping with Joey. And Bill asks for proof of that. And Doug says Vanessa has 2 sets of books. One for the government. And there's enough there to put away Joey for good. Then Doug mentions how he tried to get a friend to come aboard and tell the cops, but he backed out. So they feel like Joey had someone else take care of the situation. Later, Bill tells Haley he needs to make a rain check on the makeup sex. He has to take care of an errand. And that's when he stops by Uptown to talk with Joey and Vanessa alone. And we see Vanessa there. But, yeah, I'm assuming Bill is either going to put Joey down or basically forewarn him of Doug's, hidden agenda here. But overall, it was a good episode. I think it's a good setup for what's happening on Friday. But, hey, folks, thanks so much for the support. Also, if you would like to support the channel, I did start a channel memberships because YouTube has kept telling me do it. Just set it up. So if you want to support the channel, just become a member. I think there are different perks like, you'll get channel stickers and things like that when you comment on my videos. Also, if you want to donate another way, just feel free to send it Cash App, PayPal, or Zelle. All that stuff does help out. I don't care if it's a couple of bucks or, hey, you making it to the end of this video is what helps this channel thrive. And with that being said, I hope you have a great day, and I'll talk to you soon.